A new investigation into Ubisoft marketing campaign for Star Wars Outlaws reveals the company buttered up YouTubers with trips to Disneyland and boat tours before giving them access to 4 hours of gameplay footage. Okay, so part of the biggest marketing campaign ever was flying out YouTubers and influencers to Los Angeles to give them 4 hours with the game. Cyberpunk 2077, I guess, right? 20XX. Oh no, it's a person. Okay, never mind. Revealed that one of his fellow German YouTubers confirmed the claim that it was the biggest marketing campaign ever. As translated by YouTube, Carfelkonig stated, "We are with the largest marketing campaign ever for a Ubisoft game, and I can definitely confirm the last part, as I was invited by Ubisoft to come to Los Angeles and play in the Star Wars Outlaws event. The location was really polished up, and there was a day at Disneyland and something like that." Next, they shared footage from a British influencer and YouTuber, Louise Julie, I guess, who revealed that she was brought to Los Angeles by Ubisoft early and was taken on a boat tour, and claimed she was originally a whale tour to see if she could spot any whales. So basically they invited a bunch of UK creators who got there early because our flights were booked early. It's a very long travel time. It was a 12-hour journey. And then, of course, Ubisoft paid for everything, naturally. VIP tour of Disneyland. Individuals noting Ubisoft was paid to take these influencers to Disneyland as well. Well, oh wow, so here's the photos. Okay, because I was wondering, like, I didn't see any photos. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Had a blast. Thank you, experiencing Star Wars Outlaws. Thank you for flying me out and all the festivities. Built a epic lightsaber at Galaxy's Edge yesterday with fellow Star Wars Outlaws content creators and explored the park. It was an absolute blast. Wow. I couldn't believe it either. Ubisoft invited me out for another incredible week in California, and they know how to party. We played 4-hour demo of Star Wars Outlaws. I adopted my own little Nix, hung out, and I met so many amazing people. Well, this is what I think. I actually think that this is a massive ethical violation. And journalists actually, you know, we always talk about how journalists are bad. Journalists bad. You know, like fucking writers, these people that are in these newspapers bad. But I will have you know that one time we were at like, this was at the Games Expo, and like I was doing an interview with somebody, and we offered to give them like a shirt or something like that. We're like, hey, do you want a shirt for coming by? And they said, no, we can't take the shirt because it violates the journalist ethics code. Because if you're a journalist, you're not allowed to take any of this shit from other companies. And that's smart. Yeah, that's a good thing. There's a reason, by the way, like these rules, it's not like they just invented these rules randomly. Yeah, this is why Gamergate started, because these journalists got bought. No, so this was such a long time ago. I remember this very vividly. So Total Biscuit was, I guess he got a review copy of a game to play the game early. And the person who gave him the game also sent him an Xbox to play the game on. And after sending him an Xbox to play the game on, they said, well, you can just keep the Xbox after that time period is over. And stuff like that is actually the reason why the first Gamergate started. This might be like, you know, this is like very, very long time ago, so a lot of people don't remember this, but it's a very common practice. And so how convenient, yeah, influencers influence the influencers, exactly, right? Because a lot of journalists, I think, have a higher degree of scrutiny placed on them. People that are writing for newspapers and magazines, I think they have more accountability for it, because people are more willing to like look at them as being, you know, like fraudulent or something like that. But the truth is that this isn't any different. This is the same thing. And the truth is that if this was happening to somebody who worked at the Wall Street Journal, you know what the Wall Street Journal would do to that person? They would fire them. They would instantly fucking fire them. Because if you're providing coverage for something where they just paid for you like a full, all expenses paid trip to Disneyland and everything, it's common sense that you're probably going to have like your perspective on that's challenged or damaged, right? Streamers are a marketing tool. Yeah, exactly. Ethics rules for journalists are why influencers can exist. Part of the function of influencer has to be part of the function an influencer has is the ability to be bought without being canceled. It's a loophole. Well, what I'm saying is that I don't think that it's really about being canceled, but I think that people shouldn't take any of these people, what they're saying, seriously at all. Because in my opinion, you're like, oh, right, now they're, okay, here we go. Completely understand that the arguments were made here are not correct. I had the opportunity to play the game for 4 hours, and it was edited into an hour of a video. As part of the review process, the entire video was thrown back to us and an intermediary agency, Ubisoft, which asked for a lot of changes, especially to the wording for the beginning. Wait. So the entire agency made them go through? Oh my god. But in this logic, influencers and streamers are independent. They can't fire themselves, but the company doing the shit needs to be reprimanded or investigated. So we're talking about two different things. I'm not talking about like any sort of enforcement system for this. Like, I don't know what the solution for an enforcement system is for something like this. What I'm talking about right now is just simply the fact that it exists and the fact that it's problematic and the fact that consumers and people that are watching should call this out. And this is absolutely, it's corruption. It is. It's corruption. And there's no way around it. There's no like fine print. There's no, oh, but there's this or that. It's corruption. It's that simple. It's a bribe. Yeah, it is. It's a bribe. Reprimanding a company that big isn't going to happen. The point is that I don't want to talk about that. What I do want to talk about is the fact that this stuff is it's obviously very problematic. And if you go and you get paid to do all this stuff, they give you a bunch of stuff. It's obvious that these people are going to provide better coverage than just like a random person, right? I mean, I think it goes without saying. So I find this to be very bad. I guess like that's basically the way that I feel about it. This is the way I think about it, right? This is very bad. It's very dishonest. It is. And so like, and especially when they have, so like basically this is what happened. So they get sent out there, like an agency set this up. Like, it's not like the Ubisoft contacts the individuals. They contact an agency that then contacts the individuals, right? So then the agency takes the video, and then they run the video through like 50 different PR checks. And they probably told them, like, I'm going to be honest, they probably told them, don't say this negative thing, don't show that negative thing, don't show this bad thing, make this video look as good as possible. That's probably what happened, which again is fine. If you want to make a paid video, if you want to make a sponsored video, that's totally okay. But the issue is that when you do it and you say that you're not sponsored, you say, oh, wow, like, yeah, I'm just making this video. They flew me out and they did this. I'm going to go ahead and give you a review. This isn't a review. This is a sponsor. That's what I think happened. A bad game will always be bad, no matter how much they cover it up. Yeah, but people will make bad decisions with their money because they listen to somebody who was paid to tell them a lie. So I think that's problematic. Elden Ring did something like that? No, I think it's normal. I don't know if they did or not. I have no idea. Companies that demand that influencers, content creators review their content before it comes public and have control over it is a major red flag for everyone involved. This is how insert anything gate happens. Yeah, I think that you're right. So yeah, I feel like this is actually very problematic. Don't worry, they weren't paid for the impressions. A free trip to Disneyland doesn't influence people at all. And any review should not be counted as shilling. No, not at all. Talk about being bribed. Of course it did. Did they not realize that influencers don't really have that much influence anymore? Well, this isn't true. They wouldn't be giving them money if they didn't have influence. And after doing a little digging, I found out the VIP tour toss, the absolute cheapest, it can be $450 an hour. Oh my God. Yeah, having never played, but still, I've had no trouble with Outlaws, saying I hate it with a passion. I don't think we've played it yet, right? I mean, it doesn't really seem like it's going to be very good. So yeah, this is very standard. Yeah, and this is what Mark Kern is saying. Very standard. I call this a soft buy, where AAA studios host playtests in exotic locations. Once Blizzard did this, you invite out a bunch of press and influencers and wine and dine and entertain them. It's quite common. No money changes hands, just some free gifts and gifts of merch. I'm going to be honest. This is the reason why Gamergate happened. It's not because people hated women. It's because people hated being told that this game is good when the person who's telling them that has a relationship with the person who's making the game. This is the reason. We already went through all of this. It's amazing that it's happening again. It's because of corruption. Yeah, this is definitionally corruption. There's no way around it. Like, for example, if somebody did this to, do you remember, oh, here's a great example, Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas, he's a Supreme Court justice in the United States, very well known, very well respected by at least a lot of people. Not everybody, but a lot of people. He's well respected. This guy got massively fucking criticized because he had a friendship with somebody who was like really well off, like a billionaire or something like that. And obviously Clarence Thomas was, able to enjoy some of the benefits of that in a abstract way. It's not like the guy was paying him, but Clarence Thomas got to enjoy some, free gifts and things like that, right? So yeah, want to hate women and take their bribes? Yeah, exactly, right? This is a bad take. I bought the game. I'll let you know on the 31st. Well, wait a second. What about this? What's the difference between influencers and groomers, though? I've got a really good joke for that. So anyway, let's go back and what's the problem with this? Supreme Court can be bought and paid for. I mean, it's not necessarily bought and paid for, and this is the problem, right? Is that when you have outside influences, it's very hard to quantify what that outside influence is actually doing. Because, for example, with Clarence Thomas or with the people that are being invited over by Ubisoft, it's very possible that they would have had the same opinion had this not happened. Or Ubisoft is inviting them because they already like the game. So it's not like it's a guarantee that this is a cause and effect, but it muddies the water so much that it destroys any credibility a person can have, and it makes everybody listen to what they're saying with a massive grain of salt. And I think that's very defined, and that makes sense. It absolutely does. So what's the problem here? No, I'm messing around, hence the he. Oh, okay. Yeah, anyway, let's move on. I see what you're saying, but unless we know who they invited, there's no proof that people reviewed the game favorably, or if it's just a sponsored event. I don't think there's anything here. No, this isn't a problem. There's nothing wrong with what this person's saying. Not getting banned. Not getting banned. Why would somebody get banned? Like, yeah, this is not, he's not being rude. Like, why would he get banned? So yeah, anyway, so I don't think this is true. I think that if a bad action occurs, the outcome of that bad action is only one part of the puzzle. So, for example, if you go and you compete in a sports event and you're doing steroids, but you don't get first place, you should still be kicked out and disbarred from joining another tournament because you broke the rules and you violated people's trust. So I don't think that it really matters, like, whether it's like, oh, well, whether this person actually gave it a favorable review or not. The fact that it's happening is incredibly dangerous. And also, here's the issue, is that if somebody did this for me, maybe I would still give them what's considered a fair review. And so by me giving a fair review, now we are normalizing this practice. 5 years later, let's say I'm not reviewing games like that anymore. Now somebody else is reviewing games like that. And based off of the precedent that I've created a acceptable medium for this to happen. And now they're doing the exact same thing. Subconscious bias? Well, what I'm saying is that just because one person doesn't do it doesn't mean that it's not bad. So that's the way that I see it. Like Force Gaming, he always states if the video is an ad or not. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that this isn't an explicit ad, it's an implicit ad. It's exactly that, the violation of trust, and that's what offends normal, logical people, as it should do. Like, I have no problem, like, this is what I would do. Like, if I were them, I would say, whenever I gave my review of the game, or my coverage of the game, I would say at the very beginning, guys, Ubisoft did all this stuff for me, and so, obviously, there are people that are going to say my coverage is biased. I don't think that it is, but I want you to watch it with that in mind, and keep in mind that, obviously, you know, I do have a, you know, it needs to be disclosed. It needs to be stated. That doesn't mean it needs a hashtag ad on it, because it's not explicitly a hashtag ad. But what it does need to have is it needs to have a degree of transparency, and that transparency is for the best interest of the user. So yeah, Lamala Grum's tweet, yeah, he's right about this. Yeah, I don't care. Mark Kern has been wrong about a lot of other things, and I've called him out for it. But he's right about this. I think he's absolutely right. So yeah, what's up, Aldi? What's up, man? And Ash Creation update. Yeah, I need to look at that. Disclosure is important. Absolutely. No ethics equals skewed results equals all results are useless. Well, here's what the real problem is. This guy brings up a good point here. Is what happens is, like, and you see this with games journalism right now. Basically, people are not really willing to give any journalists the benefit of the doubt because they assume that they're all fraudulent and they're all scammers, or they're all somehow corrupt or something like that. So as soon as this happens to anybody, that expectation gets put on everybody else. And then now it damages the entire credibility of the industry as a whole. So here's a really great example of that. PewDiePie with the bridge. PewDiePie had his bridge moment, and everybody on YouTube suffered lower ad revenue because of that. Another example of it now is Mr. Beast with Chris. Chris goes out and he's a fucking freak, right? Does all kinds of weird shit. Okay, yeah, go ahead. But now everybody else, same as Minecrafters, it is a damaging stereotype that people make memes about Minecrafters and Smash players being groomers or weirdos. This is a bad stereotype, and it's horrible, right? Yeah, the Game Award. Yeah, that's horrible to say that as a stereotype, and people get what do you call it? People get stereotyped that way, and it's completely unfair to them. There are, by the way, most Minecrafters are not like this. It's disgusting. No, of course not. But there's enough of them to where it creates the stereotype, and that negative stereotype affects the ones that do nothing wrong in a worse way. So it's even more important for people to hold each other accountable, because those people can damage your reputation. That's what I think. A huge stigma is attached? Yeah, exactly. How could one give a fair review of a game when you get it for free? You lose a level of criticality. When you traded a week of work for a game, reviewers don't have that trade-off, I think. You've risked nothing. You still risk your time. I mean, money, for a large percentage of people, money is not the only factor in their life. Like, I think that for video games, it's primarily young guys and young people, so, like, they have more time than money. But for a lot of older people, they have more money than time. So they can buy the game, but they just don't want to if it's bad. So I think that if a reviewer gets a game for free, I can't see a universe where you can have something like that happen, and it's like, I don't know whether that's good or bad. I feel like you kind of have to have that. The same as movie critics get to watch movies, but I think it's all of the secondary effects beyond that are outside of the scope of the actual reviewing. So, for example, going to Disney World. You don't need to go to Disney World to review Star Wars Outlaws. You don't need to go to, like expensive, restaurants and everything to review Star Wars Outlaws. But you do need to have Star Wars Outlaws in order to review Star Wars Outlaws. Angry Joe pays for his own games. Well, good for him. This is my perspective on it. This is what I do. Anytime that I'm sponsored to play a game, I just say, yeah, I'm sponsored to play the game. That's it, right? And I've shit on games that I'm sponsored by many times, like Honkai Star Rail, like, for example, right? And so I've done this many, many times myself. However, if I'm not sponsored, I had something like happen with the game, I usually just tell people that. Like, for example, like if it's a game that I'm publishing, I say, hey, this is a game we might publish, right? Or we are publishing. This is what's happening, right? Is that really a hashtag ad? According to the FTC rules, technically it's not. So I don't actually have to put that down, but I feel like in doing so, I create a higher degree of transparency with my audience, and that's more important. You're sponsored by Honkai Impact 3rd? I did. Yes, I was sponsored. I did not like the game. I didn't think it was very good. I played the game for a couple hours. I didn't really like it. That's it. So yeah, that's my perspective. You have to disclose partnerships. It's very complex. They don't get shit to review again if they give a bad review and it's a circle jerk. That's the problem. It's called access journalism is what you're referring to. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So yeah, I'll read some comments about this on my Reddit, but I think this is a legitimately massive problem, and this is exactly why Gamergate happened. It's exactly why, and that part of Gamergate, 100% justified. Absolutely, unequivocally, completely justified. It's still a problem. And you know what happened? This is what I think happened. This is my opinion. Conspiracy Andy here. I think all of the journalists got together to paint Gamergate as just like a bunch of angry incels getting together because they hate women. I think the reason why they did that is because they didn't want angry incels to stop their gravy train. They were getting free games, free trips, all this free stuff, so they collectively, and you don't need, guys, this is a George Carlin quote, he was, like, he's the best, right? You don't need a formal conspiracy when interests converge. They don't need to sit in a Discord channel and figure out this is what we're going to write at the same time. All they need to do is act in their own best interest, and this outcome will occur. And they will act together. And in the end, games journalism is dying. The gamers won. You're right. But I think that's the reason why they painted Gamergate that way. It's because they were enjoying a tremendous amount of privileges and advantages because of it. So they didn't want it to go away. So they slandered their own audience, and they ended up destroying their careers in the process. That's what I think happened in the long term. But I think that's the reason why it happened. So yeah. Elon Musk tweeted something. It's already big drama. Check it out. I'll get to it. I know what you're talking about. They do anything except make an actually good game. The marketing departments are just doing their thing. Yeah, I mean, this is a completely different department. I mean, marketing department's just doing what they think is a good idea, which probably is. This is standard practice in the games industry, and nobody with review copies can be trusted to give a 100% dead-ass take on the game. I don't know if you, like, I don't know if I would go so far as to say that getting a review copy means that you can't give an authentic opinion about the game, but I do think that it should be disclosed that you got a review copy. It should absolutely be disclosed. Like, for example, like, I got a key for Mecha Break. Like, they gave me a key. Yeah, they gave me a key. And I said that whenever I first started it, right? Of course, yeah, they sent me a key. That's what it was. And in the Steam comments, exactly, right? That muddies the water if it's ever found out. It does. Absolutely. Anything you get for free has that effect. Yeah, but, like, you have to have... Like, how do you really have somebody pay money for a review copy when oftentimes the review copies aren't complete games? Do you see kind of how this becomes a problem? And a lot of times the review copies of games are not fully complete. So you're not even really buying a game in the first place. Bring back demos? Yeah, I mean, look at Final Fantasy 16, for example. I mean, that demo, like, in my opinion, the Final Fantasy 16 demo was better than Starfield. Like, let's be honest. Like, and the fact that also, like, it was so good. It was so good. It's amazing. So, yeah. Commander Keen demo. Yeah, I think I've got a floppy disk of that downstairs, man. Let's see here. This happens to every major publisher, not only for video games. You're right about that. Look at the press packages they send to reviewers and influencers that immediately review the product and say it's awesome. The only reviewer that matters is yourself. Try to experience the game yourself before buying. I'd rather not. Oh, God. Yeah, no shit, it's promotion. Kai getting the Millennia statue right before the DLC release wasn't out of the goodness of their hearts either. Yeah, but the difference is that Kai isn't being used as a tool to review the game, right? Like, he's just a streamer. He's not providing an objective review. He's not coming at it from that objective perspective. He's simply playing the video game. Like, and also, by the way, let's not shit on Kai here. I can't reach it. It's like literally like 1 foot away from my arms. I can't do it. But I have a Mesmer helmet. And you know where I got that from? Bandai Namco gave me the Mesmer helmet. Did that stop me from saying the TLC was fucking bullshit? It was too hard because of the way the fragments were scaled? No, I still said it. I still fucking rage quit it. Absolutely. So yeah, I'll still be an asshole even if they give me something like that. But that's the way it is. Kai promoted Elden Ring like crazy. A statue was a nice gift. Yes. Aren't major streamers also influencers? I think that it depends on how you come at it and the approach that you take for it. I think that's the main thing. He's influencing his audience, which is also an advertisement and marketing now. You're right, but there's definitely a spectrum to it. And that's the difference. Also, Kai made it very evident and obvious that he received the statue from Bandai Namco. So, like, the issue is the fact that it's not being disclosed, not necessarily the fact that it's happening. Because I think this happens all the time, right? This happens, sure. Like, I've had people send me stuff. People send me tons of stuff, right? But that's different. Yeah, still a bit fake. Well, it's not really fake, though, right? Because how can something be fake if you know exactly what's happening? It's not really fake. There's no false motive behind it? Yeah, exactly. I think that's what's going on, too. That's not the same thing. Yeah, people always like painting with a broad brush, but that's definitely the different thing. When I did an interview, was Baldur's Gate 3, how they had to bribe and for attention for all the horrible choices in character design. Yeah, exactly. Oh, wait, they didn't. Almost like you can save millions in marketing costs if your game is a good game. You're right. A big marketing campaign will never save a bad game. But anyway, Ubisoft did this. All of the people that participated in this, you should watch all of their content about this game with a grain of salt, and you should assume that they are going to try to provide favorable feedback to this game in a way that is not entirely representative of the game itself. That's what I would say.